Hello, everyone. Hi, welcome to From Blessings to Thanks. I am Naomi, the host of this panel, and I'm bringing on the rest of my panel members. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Miriam and Levi. How are you guys doing?
Peace. I'm good.
Everyone.
Good. Good.
Yes, so very excited to be here today. I'm really excited and thankful to be here today with my fellow RISE members. If you didn't know, this is a RISE takeover. RISE stands for Restoring Israelites Self Awareness Through Education. And we have educated ourselves, and we're here to educate you guys. Does anyone want to tell any more about what RISE is? As these are actually the leaders of RISE. I have with me here, I have the honor of having them on our panel. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Um,
Yeah, so it's definitely a great program for the young people in Israel. We have a few programs out, especially Phi with my fellow co-host
Yay.
and Jeremiah. But yeah, it's a great to be here and represent. I'm very excited for today.
Yeah. I'm very excited to have you guys. RISE is all about educating our youth and putting us in leadership positions. And doing Friday night is just a wonderful part of that. And I'm so excited for today's topic. I kind of just want to get straight into it and show kind of how thankful I am to be here. So that brings us into our slideshow for the first slide. So this is our topic today, from blessing to thanks. You'll be taken on a little bit of a journey on this RISE takeover while we talk about our topic of gratitude. And we can go to our second slide. So gratitude. So I'm very thankful to be here, very thankful to wake up this morning and thankful to be on this panel. What does gratitude mean to you guys? So there's different definitions in the dictionary, ways it's said in the Bible, and kind of in your own words and in your life.
I think to me, gratitude is really just, like you said, being thankful and also like showing how thankful you are. Because I think there's a lot that your actions can say about you.
Mhm.
And I think that, you can say that you're thankful for things. You can say that, you can say thank you to someone, but there's nothing like showing someone how thankful you are expressing that gratitude to a person or the God of Israel, or even to yourself.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of different ways you can express and show gratitude for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I think there's definitely ways we show gratitude as a nation to our God. One of the ways we do that is through the Day of Atonement and through the different feasts we have for multiple steps of our journey, whether it's our 7-year feast where we are showing thanks for the past 7 years we have and hoping blessings for the next 7. Especially those feasts we have when we get a job or have a new experience that we asked for the God of Israel for and we received it. Definitely, we do it as a people. I also think it's very, very important to do it individually as well, because we all have like our own experiences, our own things to be thankful for. So I think that's important to do it to the God of Israel and also to each other, because I know in this nation we just do a lot for each other and be there for each other. So it's in every aspect of our life as Israelite, I think.
For sure.
I agree. I think you guys kind of just said all of the main talking points. But I guess for me, gratitude, I'd probably have to say it's a big part of showing respect to someone you care about. To me, when I think of just gratitude and like you guys were talking about how it relates to Israel, with the God of Israel, he made a covenant with his people. It's a promise. He'll be your God. He'll protect and watch out for you, and in return, you give your praise and thanks to him. And I guess just relating that back down to my life, it's anyone I care about when they do something for me out of their kindness of their heart. You acknowledge that verbally, but then you show that through your actions. So you're taking the time to respect and acknowledge, like, hey, I recognize what you did for me, and I want to also make sure that you know that I'm here for you as well.
Mhm.
I think that also deepens relationships as well, making sure that you could take that moment and pause to show appreciation to someone. It deepens that connection to where they feel like you respect them. Like you were saying, Levi, as well, it's a respect thing.
Yeah.
So I definitely agree with that.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I think you can even, bring that to yourself and have those moments where you really, you know, thank yourself for whatever it is that you did or whatever it was that you were able to accomplish. Just take that moment and be with yourself and say, you know what? I'm acknowledging that I did that. I'm proud of myself. I'm happy that I'm in the position I'm in now.
Mhm.
um, and obviously give the thanks to the God of Israel, but also, thank yourself for putting in the work as well.
Yeah, and like the couple comments said, it goes along with being grateful and having appreciation and just being very, very thankful. I think those are all not quite synonyms, but they all have something to do quite a lot with each other. And
Yeah.
even, yeah, uh-huh.
And I
And
think, I'm sorry, go ahead.
go ahead.
I was gonna say, I'm a health buff, so science buff. So even health wise, showing gratitude it increases the positive hormones in your body. It feels like a like focusing on the positive that's going on in your life. It makes the negative not seem so negative. So
Mhm.
it could definitely boost your mood, and give you that dose of feel goodness. And that could also affect someone else that you are also showing gratitude to.
Right. Right. And I think it's definitely like a whole body thing. Like you have mentally have to be good and ready to receive gratitude as well as to give gratitude. It affects everything. I mean, I think it goes along with meditation and as well, because when you sit and really think and you really meditate on the law, on our relationships with our brethren, on our own days and our daily lives, you become like grateful. I mean, I think it's very natural to think I have all of this. I have my family. I have food on my table. I have the sun woke me up this morning. Like small things like that, that as you meditate and think about, you just begin to get really grateful. And I mean, at least I do. I don't know about you guys. It's really hard for me to go throughout my day and not say just thank you, God of Israel, or thank you to my family or my brethren. It's just such a natural familial thing. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's definitely like we see a lot of examples in the Bible too. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I've been reading a lot of Psalms lately, and a lot of the Psalms have to do with being thankful. And there's different synonyms like um, being grateful, showing praise, and all those things and appreciation in Psalms that we kind of see that is able to kind of reflect as you meditate and as you read. And I wanted to kind of get into that in our next slide as well, in Psalms 30. Right. So can someone read this one?
I can take it.
Okay.
And it reads Psalms 30, verse 1. I will exalt thee, O Lord, for thou hast lifted me up, and hast not made my foes to rejoice over me. O Lord my God, I cried unto thee, and thou hast healed me. O Lord, thou hast brought up my soul from the grave, thou hast kept me alive, that I should not go down to the pit. Sing unto the Lord, O ye saints of his, and give thanks at the remembrance of his holiness. For his anger endureth but a moment, in his favor is life. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. And in my prosperity I said, I shall never be moved. Lord, by thy favor hast made my mountain to stand strong. Thou didst hide thy face, and I was troubled. I cried to thee, O Lord, and unto the Lord I made supplication. What profits is there in my blood when I go down to the pit? Shall the dust praise thee? Shall it declare thy truth? Hear, O Lord, have mercy upon me. Lord, be thou my helper. Thou hast turned from me my mourning into dancing. Thou hast put off my sackcloth and girded me with gladness, to the end that my glory may sing praise to thee and not be silent. O Lord my God, I will give thanks unto thee forever. That's it.
Wow.
Right. So this, like a lot of our psalms, this is a psalms of praise and gratitude to the God of Israel. And then in here we see that there's kind of a journey that this person is going on, that they were in this deep, dark place. and then they cried out to the God of Israel, having nothing and nowhere to go or to turn but the God of Israel, and being able to hear an answer or feel that answer in that prayer and asking and begging and crying out of the God of Israel. And the God of Israel takes them out of that pit, helps them. And this person cannot help but say, I will praise you. I will thank you for the rest of my life, because that's how grateful that they are. And this is in time of like life and death, of course. There is a want to do that, but I think this also translates to like everyday life. I mean, if you really sit and think about the blessings that we've been bestowed upon us as Israel, us individually, the fact that we have our eyes open and our ears hear, I mean, you can't help but, or I can't help but have gratitude for that. And this Psalms and a lot of other Psalms perfectly kind of articulates what that journey of gratitude is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, really. I love the recognition that they have of where their blessing came from. Like I know we can pray about specific things happening to our lives, but then to resort like come back to that source and be like, I know I got this because of you and because my loyalty to you and your being my God. I think
Mhm.
that's definitely an important thing as well.
Mhm. Mhm.
Another thing I also want to bring up is one thing that really impressed me is how that psalm's written, and just the psalms as a whole. It's very poetic, and I guess when I think of that, I think of how we praise or we give back to our God. Um, it's not always like because I feel like people may assume that how are you supposed to give back to a God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? What could I possibly give? But it's simply what I've seen in the psalm is someone putting their heart into what they're writing, and I feel like that's what he wants, something genuine, something heartfelt.
Mm.
um, just looking at the words and the lyrics, it cuts deep, like the analogies he uses, it's beautiful, really, it's beautiful, it cuts deep. That's just for the psalms as a whole. And I feel like those heartfelt words are great ways of showing gratitude, and speak to many ways that you can show gratitude to the God of Israel specifically, just by putting your all into something that you love to do.
Right, right.
And I think it's so beautiful, especially verse 11, where it says, Thou hast turned me from my mourning into dancing, and sackcloth and girded me with gladness. Like the
Mhm.
fact that you went from such a low state, you were in
Mhm.
mourning. When you're mourning, you're not like, it's not like, okay, I'm a little bit happy. Like you're like deep in a state of, I don't think I can get out of this. Like, this is bad. This is really deep. This is cutting me deep. And then to go from that to dancing and gladness and joy, it's just like the power that the God of Israel is able to have. All you'd want to do is give him thanks and praise. And of
Mhm.
course, like if the God of Israel was able to take me from the position of mourning to dancing and gladness, I'd want to give him my thanks
Mhm.
forever and ever as well,
Mhm.
because that is just like a beautiful thing. And to know that how this happened is through the God of Israel, and to understand that he is the power that took in the source that took
Mhm.
you out of it. It's just knowing that and having that understanding just makes this prayer even um, more just amazing,
Mhm.
because they're able to recognize that it wasn't just like, okay, I put in the work, I did this, and now I brought myself out of it. But it's no, the God of Israel saw what I was going through, and he is listening to my cry, and he heard my call, and he heard my prayer, and he's delivered me. And now I'm in a position of happiness and gladness and joy that I either have not felt before or I haven't felt in a long time. And I just love it.
Right. No, I definitely resonate with that. And as Felicia Singleton says, God of Israel wants us to live and not die, and it's all for our benefit. He's truly an awesome God.
Amen.
Right. Yes. He wants so much for us. Like he does. And when we ask and we pray for blessings or we receive blessings in our lives, it's up to us to show that gratitude, because he wants the best. He doesn't want us to fail or to stray from our paths. He wants us to do the best we can and be the light in this world. So,
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
the
Yeah.
oh,
And to
good.
just go off of what Miriam previously mentioned, and back to the scripture of where he was in mourning and the next day he
mhm,
felt joy. I think going through that experience, I know we all kind of go through those experiences. Life has ups and downs. We can't guarantee all positive situations. And even personally, when I go down, going to the God of Israel and seeing Him bring me back up, it deepens that connection and that relationship. It makes me be able to depend on the God of Israel fully.
Mhm.
And not to take those moments for granted and say that, oh, I did this for myself. I know where my source is and where that comes from. And that even makes me feel insured for the next time. And I know there's going to be a next time I'm down, that I'm going to find my way back up. It's a relationship that I see myself going to, depending on for the rest of my life. And I need that, definitely.
To
Yeah.
piggyback off of that, because I know that also kind of connects what you said to the beginning when we were talking about gratitude and how it has to do a lot with relationships. I feel like when you're in those moments and you turn to the God of Israel, that has to touch his heart because he knows that my child wants me, he knows who he needs to rely on in times like that. And what Miriam and even Felicia Singleton was commenting about how God, he wants us to live, and like how in this Bible it talks about you're in mourning, you're in a place of despair, but you're still giving praise and thanks. And now you can even see that in how it's written, where it says, who am I supposed to go to, the pit? When I see the pit, it's like you see that terminology being used a lot in the Psalms. And when I see the pit, I think of death, I think of the outside world, all these other different places that aren't Israel, that aren't our God, who some people may rely on, but for us, that's not the source of our strength. We can't pray idol gods. They're made of dirt. They're made of nothing. They're lifeless. So that's just some of the things that go into my head, and how when you're in that place where it almost feels like you're in that state of mourning, that almost life or death situation, and you turn to him, I feel like that's probably one of the greatest examples of your faith in your God. And then to give praise in those situations on top of it.
Right. Because it's so easy to go to the God of Israel during your hardship, but then to go back to him when you're feeling good and being like, well, I remember you gave this to me. Thank you.
Yes.
That's a next level.
Yeah.
Exactly, because I don't think the God of Israel doesn't only want us to go to him when things are hard and where we want things. I think the biggest thing is that when you're able to get what you needed from the God of Israel, but continue that relationship with him, and don't just say, okay, I got what I needed, thanks,
Right.
and then go back to not nurturing that relationship until you need something again, or until you're going through something again. And that's something that I'm learning with myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like in order to really show that gratitude, you need to keep showing up for him,
Mm-hmm.
and keep that relationship going, because you don't just want to use the God of Israel. Like, he's not just, there to use him. You can use him, but also, like, he's your father, right? So you don't just want to go to your dad and say, hey, dad, I need this, and then don't talk to your dad again until you need something else. That's not how any relationship works, or any healthy relationship should work.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to keep and maintain a positive and healthy relationship between yourself and the God of Israel, you need to recognize that not only do you need to go to him in times of help and mourning, but in times of gladness, in times of just, hi, God of Israel, how are you? And times of
What's up?
yeah, and times of just, you know what, I was thinking about you, so I just decided to start talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's really how you nurture a relationship, just in your own personal life, but also with um, the God of Israel. And I love that at the end of this chapter, he says, I will give thanks unto thee forever. Like, forever is a long time.
Mhm.
But that's a big thing, and I love that.
Yep. Yep. And then Seafield says, you're right, Miriam. He wants us to come to him when we're having fun. He wants us to be included in that also. I mean, I think so.
Yeah.
I think as a young person and going into life, and whether it's college and academia or afterwards, or um, kind of going into life and really experiencing life for ourselves and having an individual connection with the God of Israel, I think we experience all those ups and downs, and we rely so much on this relationship that we have to give gratitude. Because, I mean, if you were to give someone a gift and they took that gift, but then they threw it on the floor, or they gave it to someone else, or they didn't appreciate it, how likely are you to give them that gift again? And I
Yeah.
think about that so often. Especially when there's something in my path, I pray that it's supposed to be in my path, or I pray that that something that I want. I pray that it's what the God of Israel wants for me too. And then when it turns out that it is, I am so grateful, because there is nowhere else to turn, nothing else to do, but that there's only that connection with the God of Israel. Especially learning about and exploring our relationships with our brethren and this nation. I think it's so important to learn those up and downs and kind of what that gratitude cycle looks like. Um, and then Florence Earle says gratitude is having a relationship, and not just a one-way relationship, but a continual communication in love and adoration. I completely agree. It's a two-sided coin. It's a an all-round relationship is what we must have with the God of Israel,
Yeah.
right? It's all round, it's all encompassing, it's everything. And gratitude is just a part of that relationship, because without it, how likely are you to be blessed again? Or how likely is that relationship to survive? Definitely. And I think this also brings us to kind of that cycle or that journey of gratitude in our next slide. Right. So this is, and I like charts and graphs. So this is an image of what that journey of gratitude might look like. So we are asking and praying for something. I mean, that's step one. That's the beginning of this journey of gratitude. And then if the God of Israel has, well, I mean, as we're asking and praying to specify, there are different ways we can do that. We can pray on our own. We can pray with our brethren. We can go to the altar. We can sing a song. We can use our talents. We can do so many things to have the God of Israel hear us, to connect with the God of Israel, to praise Him, and to really ask and connect in that way. And then after that period of asking and praying in that continuous motion, if the God of Israel has mercy upon you, if He sees this thing that you want in your path, if you get a chance to receive those blessings, I mean, it's a great thing, but that journey does not end there. You have to go back and just as much effort, just as much time as you spend asking and praying and begging and pleading for that one thing, or for this life or death situation, or whatever it may be, you have to express that gratitude just as much, just as long, with just as much effort. And then the journey kind of continues, and it's a little bit cyclical, and it kind of goes on for the rest of our lives. But I think just analyzing this journey of gratitude within what we're reading and in our own lives is so useful.
Yeah, for sure. I love this chart. I think that it's so great because it kind of is a framework
Mhm.
for how you should not only express gratitude, but um, what your prayers, sometimes your prayers can be like asking, sometimes your prayers can be like thank you, sometimes your prayers can be, I just need to talk, I just need to vent. But I love how prayer is the first step, because that's really how we can connect most with the God of Israel, when we're having that direct conversation with Him. Because you can, I don't know, you can do things and what's it like, give back to the nation, of course, give back to your people, but also, and that also builds your relationship with the God of Israel. But having that consistent communication with Him, whether it's through formal prayer or even just having a conversation with the God of Israel and just saying, God of Israel, this is obviously, you saw what happened during my day, but I just need to rant about what's happening
Mhm.
and what's going on. I think that prayer is such a huge thing. And it's such a great way to really, explore that bond with the God of Israel, even though He doesn't really answer, He answers. And once you see that He's answering, I feel like that bond only gets stronger, like Sarah had mentioned before. And then that's really what keeps that cycle going, because then you receive what you're asking for, you receive the blessing, and then you express the gratitude, right? And I think that the expressing the gratitude should just keep going until there's something else that you're asking or you're praying for. I think that it should be like a circle.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you said, it's a continuous cycle of the asking and praying, and the receiving and the expressing. And I think the expressing is kind of the gift that the God of Israel gets,
Hmm.
and also seeing what we do with the blessings,
Hmm.
seeing if we actually do what we said we were going to do with them, or seeing if we didn't do what we said we were going to do with them.
Yeah.
I think that's also a test for us and a test for our relationship between the God of Israel. Because
Hmm.
when you pray, you don't want to say something and don't hold up your end of the bargain, right? It's so many times, people could be like, if you give me this, then I will go to every single Sabbath and new moon service for the rest of my life. I will never miss one. And then
Hmm.
you miss one, and then you miss another, and you
Yeah.
miss another. But like, it's important to keep up your end of the bargain with the God of Israel. And when you receive that blessing, say thank you through prayer, but also showing him that you're doing exactly what you said you were going to do with the blessing that you asked him for.
Hmm. Yep.
It's a
I think
commitment.
so.
Yep. And that's definitely even a discussion of how, like you said, it's action. It's not just your words, or as Pansy Beetle said, lip service. It's what you do. I mean, a way of showing gratitude. Yes, it's praying. It's maybe going to the altar. It's so many things. But I think it's also using that blessing or using that gift. Like if you were asking for a blessing of I don't know, getting into a college that you want, or gaining a new talent, or getting into really anything in life that you really, really want, or that you feel you want to be on your path, and you get that. I mean, what a blessing. And so you use that to the best of your abilities. I mean, you shine the God of Israel's light throughout the world. And that's a great way to show your gratitude, because you're using that gift and that blessing. And I think that is just one of the most like great ways to do that, and using it for the betterment of this nation, and helping your brethren to do the same.
Mhm.
Um, and doing that and becoming kind of a turning a wheel or cog in the machine, like becoming a member of this nation, using that blessing, and using that gift. I think that's a great way to show gratitude as well. Um, Right. And so we have this kind of journey of gratitude. As you said, it's cyclical in nature. There's like different ways to do it. A lot of the times, too, there's also, so there's three steps technically: asking and praying, receiving blessings if God has mercy upon you and sees it for your path, and then expressing gratitude. But if you read the Bible, there are a lot of steps kind of to get to that gratitude sometimes, or maybe the gratitude is skipped. And I kind of want to go over a couple of those historical events and stories to kind of see what we can learn about that. But before we do that, if anything of what we're saying is resonating with you, if you also see gratitude in your life, if you feel like you need more gratitude, comment down below. Send fires in the chats if this is resonating with you, if you're connecting with us, because we would love to hear any of your comments or see those fires. Um,
Down below.
but yeah, so we'll get on to our first kind of historical event in the next slide. Right, so this one is Numbers 21, 1 to 9. And when King Arad the Canaanite, which dwelt in the south, heard tell that Israel came by the way of the spies, that he fought against Israel and took some of them prisoners. And Israel vowed a vow unto the Lord and said, if thou wilt indeed deliver this people into my hand, then I will utterly destroy their cities. And the Lord hearkened to the voice of Israel and delivered up the Canaanites, and they utterly destroyed them and their cities. And he called the name of the place uh, Hormah. And they journeyed from Mount Hor by the way of the Red Sea to compass the land of Edom, and the soul of the people was much discouraged because of the way. And the people spake against God and against Moses. Wherefore have ye brought us out of Egypt to die in the wilderness? For there is no bread, neither is there any water, and our soul loatheth this light bread. And the Lord sent fiery serpents among the people, and they bit the people, and much of people of Israel died. Therefore, the people came to Moses and said, "We have sinned, for we have spoken against the Lord and against thee. Pray unto the Lord that he may take away the serpents from us." And Moses prayed for the people. And the Lord said unto Moses, "Make them a fiery serpent, and set it upon a pole. And it shall come to pass that every one that is bitten, when he looketh upon it, shall live." Moses made a serpent of brass and put it upon a pole. And it came to pass that if a serpent had bitten any man when he had beheld the serpent of brass, he lived.
How soon we forget us people.
It's so crazy. Oh my God.
It's really crazy. If he delivered us, answered our prayer against the Canaanites, why wouldn't he provide for us food and water and all our heart's desire if we just asked for it?
It's crazy. Yep. These 9 verses basically sum up the entirety of Judges right here.
Seriously. Oh my, and the fact that they didn't say we'll pray to the God of Israel. They asked Moses to pray to the because they knew the only person that the God of Israel would even want to hear from would be Moses. And it's just like, oh my gosh, you guys are doing it again.
Again.
You can't take vows, I guess, lightly. When we are making a commitment, when you're making gratitude and you're saying thanks, that has to mean something. Being an Israelite, it has to mean something to you. It's not a one-off day. I can't, go to Sabbath and the moon, say I'm an Israelite, sing my heart out, then the next day go to get a pepperoni pizza. It's 24/7 around the clock.
Yep.
Yes. Sorry to interrupt you, Levi, but it's definitely consistency that matters. It's like we keep saying, it's that sincerity and that that if you're sincere, that consistency is just going to follow.
Right.
It's just crazy reading this, because this is just the story of our lives, isn't it? Of our ancestors. Where something great just happened and we don't go to that source to then deliver us again. Like we forget. Our memories are short-lived. Where our power comes from in our source.
Yeah.
So, that's frustrating.
Just to think about how stiff-necked these people have to be, all the miracles they saw just in the chapter prior, and going on, all these insane miracles they see in their eyes, and yet they still have the gall to question their God. Can he give me some food in the wilderness? I'm hungry. I'm tired of this labor.
And they went to Moses and they were like, "Why did you lead us here to die and to starve?" And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. There's no appreciation and no gratitude, as we see here. I mean, and we can also look at in the next slide the journey of gratitude analysis for this, because it's up and down. It's kind of a tricky and slippery slope for the people of Israel during this time, because, as you just said, we just got out of Egypt. These are people that are so close to this huge miracle that we still are in awe and shock about today, that still have this disbelief and faithless actions and thoughts towards the God of Israel and Moses, which is so like to believe that is just absolutely insane. But I want to look at the analysis diagram in the next slide as well, as we analyze. Right. So it goes from step 1, asking and praying, step 2, receiving blessings, following that journey. But then we get into sort of a danger zone as we get to the ungrateful nature of the people of Israel at this time, and we're punished with the serpent. It says it's a fiery serpent that bit us and we died. I mean, that's the ultimate. that's the punishment of death. So going into that danger zone and going to that punishment is not something we want to see on our journey of gratitude. And then they ask and they pray, which is so it's so telling, because you're only asking and praying and giving Moses and the God of Israel, especially, the props that they have when you're in this dire time and need, which is something that we don't want to do. And then they receive blessings. But as we see, there isn't much gratitude in this diagram, in this analysis, in the people of Israel, as we've all kind of said, and that's kind of like a what not to do. But unfortunately, like kind of throughout the Bible and throughout this, like so many historical events, this is kind of repeated. It's very cyclical. There's a lot of things that happen, ups and downs of our journey of gratitude as a people. That's kind of something that we don't want to repeat now or in the future, right?
And kind of
Yeah. So this is kind of a story of up and down, and really you see like there's steps 1 and 2, but not really step 3, the expression of
Mhm.
gratitude. Because I mean, the God of Israel saved them twice in these 9 verses. He had delivered the Canaanites into their hands, and he saved them from suffering by the serpent that he sent to them.
Mhm.
And where's the gratitude, you know? So
Yeah.
yeah.
I like
I love
that.
these diagrams because it outlines exactly where you need to intercept and show that gratitude. Like,
Yes.
Mhm.
see those blessings, or you're in danger of going through this whole other cycle that wouldn't have happened otherwise.
Right.
And I liked how this like kind of points out how critical and important gratitude is. As you
Mhm.
said, Naomi, this one graph right here can be applied throughout the entire 66 books of the Bibles with
Mhm.
every mess up that we make as an Israelites. Um,
Mhm.
it's to the point where you see hundreds, thousands of years later, in the time of Jesus, they're still having to quote and make you, did you not remember when he parted the Red Sea?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah.
Even up today, and even up today, you still got to say that.
Yeah.
Um, but that's,
Crazy.
And it's
that's,
just,
oh,
oh,
yeah.
sorry, go
I was
ahead.
just gonna say
I,
that's just like I guess the importance of gratitude and what happens when you have the lack thereof, and we don't want to fall into that repetitive cycle.
yeah.
Mhm.
It may seem like a simple, if, I don't know how to explain it, but like it may seem like a small simple task just saying thank you, but so much goes into saying thank you, so much goes into showing that gratitude that can't just be ignored.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Pansy Weedle says our people really love to complain. Wish we could put our brains in actions before our emotions, always playing the victim. Unfortunately, that is
Right.
a terrible habit of our people. Um,
A little bit of hard-headedness.
yeah,
Well, a lot
it's
of it.
especially jarring, as Levi mentioned before, that this happened just after parting the sea and going through the journey with literally you saw the thing that's quoted a lot in the Bible is this miracle that happened. You were there,
Mhm.
but you were part of the family that was there, and you're still not seeing where your source comes from and the power of our God and our people and prayer, and it's very jarring.
Saw a
Yes.
pillar of smoke descend into the camp,
Right.
mountain shaking, thunder, all this craziness, and then they'll go and set up a golden calf when Moses isn't looking.
Mhm.
Shame.
That's our people.
Shame.
Oh gosh, it's insane. And Corrine says effective slide outlining the pattern of our forefathers for sure.
Yeah.
And I
Unfortunately.
no,
Right.
yeah, like you don't want it to be, but I just think it really shows. I love that diagram because I feel like it also just shows how much the God of Israel loves his people. It doesn't just stop at punishment, it goes right back to asking for forgiveness and praying. And the God of Israel delivers us
Mhm.
and blesses us every single time.
Yes.
Like he it's not like the God of Israel says, like, you know what, you guys are on your own. Like, stay here. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, every single time we pray to him and we ask him for that forgiveness, it's like, I can't not. Like,
Yeah.
they're calling out to me. Like, those
Yeah.
are my children. Like, what am I supposed to do? Not help them?
Yeah.
So time and time again, Israel is just ungrateful and they keep forgetting where their power comes from, forgetting who their God is, forgetting who they are. And then they want to go adopt other people's cultures, other people's way of life. And then when it doesn't end up working out for them, which is always, then
Hmm.
they want to call on to the God of Israel. And he's like, I have to. Like,
Yeah.
I have to punish you, but at the same time, like, you're still my children and I still love you and I want the best for you. So I'm going to do what I have to do. But it's
Mhm.
just like we keep taking advantage of
Yeah.
him
Yeah.
and it's not cool.
Yeah. I
Like, oh
yeah.
my gosh.
Like a comment said before, the God of Israel wants the best for us. I mean, no, of course he's gonna keep trying to save us and keep trying to show us that we should have faith in him. But I mean, it's an abusive relationship on our side a little bit. I mean, because he keeps coming back to us, but it's us who's kind of like being wayward and having, and I think when you think about gratitude and that journey and that path and the analysis, faith comes so much into that. I mean, having faith is a part of gratitude, having
Mhm.
that appreciation and valuing, like, really the relationship of the God of Israel and his people. And that's all a part of it. And when you don't have faith, it leads you to have um, to be ungrateful, and to not have that gratitude, which is, I mean, it's a cycle that we see in the Bible. It's a cycle that hopefully, as young people becoming leaders in this world and this nation, that we can stop. Hopefully, that we can kind of even go towards a future generation and have a positive cycle of gratitude, and faith with the God of Israel, to really solidify that relationship, to no longer have it be like this abusive relationship that we've had in the past. But yeah, it's really, really cool to see it in a diagram way. And I think it actually being able to analyze that does help me even as a young person going through life, because you can kind of see which ways you're going wrong, which ways you're going right, and kind of how to fix that, in even your path of gratitude and the path of, getting blessings and all of that. Um, and Tina Jackson says, gratitude is more than saying thank you, it's an attitude, a lifestyle. Right.
Mhm.
It truly is a lifestyle. It encompasses so much that we do. It's part of that relationship. He's,
Mhm.
yeah, and then he's tired of us making him look bad as well. He leads us down the path of righteousness for the name'sake. Right. So we,
Yeah.
we were making him look bad.
But another thing that also came to mind, um, just in those short 9 verses, there's a lot that's not being told. And
Yeah.
one thing that I do feel like is a big reason as to what gets in the way of us saying thank you is the lack of humility. I just
Mhm.
being in their shoes, you just overcome these mighty Canaanites, killed off entire armies, and that goes to your head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because instead of giving the God of Israel the thanks, you completely forget the fact that you were at your lowest of lows, that you were
Mhm.
praying and screaming his name, asking for his help. That goes out the window, and now you're like, man, I'm him. I did that. I'm that
Yeah.
guy. You know?
Yeah.
And I feel like when you don't have that humility to say thank you, it affects you negatively. And one thing that I do remember, it was my cousin Cameron, and he was a president of our high school. Not my, I wasn't in the high school at the time, but he was president of his high school at the time. So one thing I remember specifically was going to his graduation and him, because he's the president, he had to speak. And when he spoke, he mentioned his name. He mentioned his God's name. He said, "I give thanks to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob." And that alone was just so powerful, because if you know the story of how he even got president, there were people who were, hoping for my cousin's downfall, you guys, okay? They
Mhm.
didn't want him to be in that position. There are people
Mhm.
out to get him, but thanks to his family, to his God, he was able to reach that height, get there. And even, on that podium, he's achieved this standard of, class president. He's done all this, he's done all that. He's still able to humble himself and say to this crowd of people, this is because of my God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. No hesitation, out there waving his hands. If you watch a video, I'm pretty sure he dabs and all that. That was cool back then. But
I'm
that's,
sorry.
I feel
I
like
love
true
that.
humility is, and what it means to be thankful.
Yeah,
Right.
for sure. And I love how you talked about how, putting yourself in their shoes and seeing how like you defeated a whole nation and you think that was you.
Mm.
Like you don't give that um the credit where credit is due, right?
Mhm.
It's not you who was slaying them or doing whatever. That was all the God of Israel using you as a vessel, right? So it's just like you have to really think about that in your own personal life and kind of apply that to your life and say, okay, like I know that a lot of the things that happen around me are bigger than me, and I need to understand that and act accordingly. Like if I ask for something, if I ask specifically for something and I get that specific something, I can't go and be like, yeah, I did that. No, like that was the God of Israel, because this is exactly what I asked for. This is exactly what I got. And there's no other power that could have given this to me other than the God of Israel. Of course, I was part of it. He used me as a vessel, He used me as the means to get to where I needed to be. But it was really Him giving me that power, giving me that strength to get through whatever I needed to get through to get to the point that I've been wanting to get to.
And that mentality, that's like one of the greatest warriors in Israel, David. That's the same mentality he always had. He was humble. And David did amazing things, took on all these armies, he slew all these people, but at the end of the day, he understood, I'm not the one doing this. I'm just a vessel. It's my God. We just read Psalms. A good portion of the Psalms are written by David, and it's just him giving praise for every single thing the God of Israel has given him. And it's just, I feel like we can always kind of strive to have that, once again, humility, understanding each of these achievements, no matter what they may be, our God had a hand in it. He had a hand in it. He's always looking out for his children. And understand that, I feel like you're going to be able to give that gratitude and that thanks. And once again, the cycle repeats where you're acknowledging him, praising him, and he's able to help and support you.
I love that mention of just applying these to our lives today. I think, of course, now we don't have battles that we're fighting and going against nations. Our battles are a little bit smaller, but they do have impact on our lives that could be just as big. So just being able to apply that for its face value, like this something happened in our life, that was great. Give thanks, pray for things, show that communication, that relationship. It still applies just as well. We just have very different battles that we go on day to day, but it's definitely applicable. Yeah.
And Pansy Vito says, love that, Levi. Thanks for sharing that story. We should never, ever be ashamed or afraid of putting the God of Israel's name on the mountaintop. The heathens do it for their gods every opportunity. Right. I think, yeah. And even growing up, that's what my parents taught me too. Like everything that you have, you prayed for it, you asked, and even if you did, even if you didn't, you still received those blessings, right? And you should always, like, I remember any graduation speeches, any sort of big things where I had to speak, I always thank the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, because that's, I mean, as a young person, it was so great for my parents to let me see that at a young age, that it's not just me. I'm not an individual. I'm part of this family and I'm part of this relationship. And I was screaming his name from the mountaintop at a very young age. And so it's great being able to have that foundation and build upon that and having that gratitude and being so grateful for the God of Israel and his blessings and my brethren in this part of my life too, because that's what we depend on. In our many battles daily, like Sarah was saying. It's not huge war, at least not most of us. It's not huge war. It's not this nation versus nation, but it is in some ways. But
Spiritually,
it's right. But it's also your personal journeys and your family's journeys and those battles that you have that it really, really matters.
and I think that's also kind of goes back to how you were talking earlier. Gratitude is every day in your life, not just the big and amazing things, but also the small things. Just saying, thanks for waking me up today.
Yeah.
Thanks for let me breathe some fresh air.
Yeah.
Small things that may seem small, but are bigger than you may have believed they are.
Yeah. That's the first thing my grandfather always says whenever I talk to him is the God of Israel woke me up today, because even he knows, the leader of this nation, he knows that that the God of Israel, that we should give thanks to God of Israel for every little thing, for the sun rising, for our legs working, for being able to speak and to do everything that we can on a daily basis, that we should very much be thankful for. Xavier Brown says the God of Israel has called us to be witnesses. A witness tells what is seen, heard, and experienced. Right. So that's a part of our lives. I mean, screaming his name to the mountaintop and shining our light in this world, and truly, truly knowing that it's not just us that light stems from. It's the God of Israel and the path that we're on, and our brethren, and everything that works in this relationship. Right. I want to go to another historical event, story, biblical example of the way that we can see gratitude being used in the next slide.
Also, hit the like button and subscribe.
Please like, comment, subscribe. Show your gratitude for us being here, for being part of this nation and being at the Rise Takeover. And can someone read this next slide?
Yeah. Okay. So this is 1 Kings 3, verses 5 through 15. In Gibeon, the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream by night and God said, "Ask what I shall give thee." And Solomon said, "Thou hast showed unto thy servant David, my father, great mercy, according as he walked before thee in truth and in righteousness and in uprightness of heart with thee. And thou hast kept for him this great kindness, that thou hast given him a son to sit on his throne as it is this day. And now, O Lord my God, thou hast made thy servant king instead of David my father, and I am but a little child. I know not how to go out or come in. And thy servant is in the midst of thy people which thou hast chosen, a great people that cannot be numbered nor counted for multitude. Give therefore thy servant an understanding heart to judge thy people, that I may discern between good and bad. For who is able to judge this thy so great a people? And the speech pleased the Lord, that Solomon had asked this thing. And God said unto him, Because thou hast asked this thing, and hast not asked for thyself long life, neither hast asked for riches for thyself, nor hast asked for the life of thine enemies, but hast asked for thyself an understanding to discern judgment. Behold, I have done according to thy words. Lo, I have given thee a wise and understanding heart, so that there was none like thee before thee, neither after thee shall any arise like unto thee. And I have also given thee that which thou hast not asked, both riches and honor, so that there shall not be any among the kings like unto thee all thy days. And if thou wilt walk in my ways, to keep my statutes and my commandments, as thy father David did walk, then I will lengthen thy days. And Solomon awoke, and behold, it was a dream. And he came to Jerusalem, and stood before the ark of the covenant of the Lord, and offered up burnt offerings and peace offerings, and made a feast to all his servants.
I mean, this perfectly is exemplifies the journey of gratitude that we see that we were talking about. I mean, Solomon we know as this great king, this great person, this great man who had both wisdom and riches. But this is kind of the origin of where that stems from. Because he was humble, like we talked of. He was selfless and thinking about his nation and his duty as king. The God eventually gave him more than what he asked for. He blessed him and he gave him like so much more. And then with that, immediately he offered up burnt offerings and gave peace offerings and held a feast for the God of Israel. I mean, that completely exemplifies the journey of gratitude that we all hope to achieve.
And this is might be jumping a little bit ahead, but also when I think of the Feast of Tabernacles and how it's described with Solomon and how much work and effort he put into this, I'm pretty there's parts of it where the own own scribe writes, and there's so many, it's almost you can't even count how many. Like the scribe himself's given up. That's how many offerings that Solomon was bringing forth. And that's just kind of showing you the depths of his gratitude. I could see it like he feels so passionate about this, and he's saying, give me more, we need more offerings, we need more praise, because he wants to do his all, go all out. He never feels like it's enough. He wants to go all out. And just when you think about the restoring of the temple, he's getting the best of the best. All of this, using all of his powers, all of his talents given by God, his gifts, his position as king, which was given to him by God, and he's giving that back. And I think that as Israelites, we got to try to think like that too. Those talents that you have, whatever positions that you have, whatever you learn from whatever job, even if it's just a basic job, you may be working at a grocery store. You never know what you might learn or pick up. And you could be using that, turning that into something that will once again help you to praise and thank your God. Because that's something we just got to do as Israelites. It's how we live.
I love that. Always looking for an opportunity to give back and give thanks. I think, especially in this world, it's so easy to crumble under the pressure of everything and to like be very negative because a lot of those things are happening. But I think that will create a more positive mindset and more positive community if we constantly look for things and ways to give back and to continue that line to our source. I think that's for a more positive relationship, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And I love how Solomon also mentions his father. David and how great and righteous of a king David was. Because I think that's even showing humility and him understanding who, like, what line he comes from and who he's connected to. And I think that, that you have to have a lot of respect. Solomon had to have a lot of respect for his father to do that and to even make it about David, even when it wasn't about David. Um, and I love the fact that he thought about literally everyone else. He thought about his father, he thought about his people, he exalted the God of Israel for himself. And because the God of Israel saw that, he said, you know what? You are going to be the greatest king that Israel ever see because of this one moment that you were selfless and you put the needs and the wants of everyone else before yourself. And that is an amazing thing to do, especially when you're already in a position of power. The fact that it didn't get to his head yet, he was still thinking about his people and he was still thinking about how he can be a good king for his people, not for himself. I think that that's such just a commendable thing, and a trait I think that we should all, try to use in our own lives when it comes to our, interpersonal relationships, but also our relationship with the God of Israel.
In our relationship with our parents, like it shows how well he was raised to be able to still express himself in that gratitude towards the God of Israel, even when David's not there, and that he's continuing that faith and that dedication to the God of Israel and to the nation. Like we know how easy it is for even having a great king and for their son and the next king to be horrible.
Yeah.
See that throughout the Bible. So that just shows how strong that relationship passed through the lines from David to Solomon.
Yeah, I think it's really important to look about context when we're thinking about the people that we're talking about in the Bible, because even a couple of chapters before this, David is passing away and he's telling Solomon to, you take up this mantle, you have to build the temple because I was not able to do that, but your hands are going to be clean and you're able to do that to show the glory and the God of Israel, and that thanks for the God of Israel so we can, connect with our spirituality of our nation. It is also a foundational thing. Like parents should teach that, because when you think about kings, like they have like riches, they have this privilege that the like Israel like doesn't always have. They are like the leaders of Israel, in that, like if you go to war, your king is taking you to war. They have that responsibility on their shoulders, but he still has that humbleness and that sense of duty and that gratitude for the God of Israel, and that stems from David and his teachings, and the line, like you said, the context of Solomon. That you think about the um, the environment that a child is in to grow up with that sense of gratitude. I mean, like Levi said, David sang songs. He rented his clothes. He was this person that showed his emotions with the God of Israel in that relationship so outwardly that, I mean, Solomon couldn't help but see that, and try to have that same gratitude as well, which I think is really, really nice and a great example to see.
And even when you look at the, oh, my bad. And even when you just look at the mindset of David and Solomon as kings, like you said, kings are seen as leaders of their country. They're up high, and I'm really into history. So when you look at some things like a lot of major revolutions that happen in European, it happens because this monarchy, the people at the top, these kings, these nobles, they see themselves at the top. They don't care about the low ones lower before them. They're not doing anything to help them, only to help themselves. And it's that mentality that leads to these terrible revolutions with loss of life. But with David and Solomon, it's inverted. Elder Avery, I always see him use this analogy when he teaches. The world operates on a pyramid scheme where you have the leaders at the top and the majority on the bottom. But Israel, it's inverted. Our leaders are here to serve the people. They're here to serve their God. They're here to help, to care for us. So they're in their position. They understand the power of their position, but they understand that this power isn't meant to be used on lavish things. It's meant to praise their God and help to build the nation. That's how our own priests operate. That's how Utter Shadowrock operates. He understands that it's a burden. It's not hard. It's not easy. It's hard. But even in that, it, like we said, with gratitude, it's a cycle. It all comes together. So what happens when you take this? What do you get? If the leader gives his all to helping his people, that's gonna come back to him. And what symbol does that make? Post that in chat if you figure that out. Figure that out.
No,
I, I love that.
right? And to even just realize that as the young age that Solomon was, I mean, he even humbled himself to say, "I'm but a child." Like he was probably big up his whole life being the next king of Israel, but to humble himself before God of Israel and be like, "I'm but a child," and to realize what you just said, Levi, that I'm here to service my people, is just an astounding thought process to have as a young person.
That's because that's not how the world thinks. Even today, politicians, they only care about their own self-interest. Even today in this world, people are last. That's not how we as Israelites need to think.
Right. Right. And even if we're continuing to analyze Solomon, I want to see the journey of gratitude for Solomon on the next slide as well. Right, and you can see how perfect this is. It's exactly what we're talking about when we talk about asking and praying. Well, the God of Israel asked him, but he asked for, in a very humble way, for to be able to lead and understand his people, to have that knowledge, and the God of Israel gave him so much more. And then the third step, he expressed his gratitude like immediately. And so this is a great example of a perfect analysis and what we like to see as well.
It also shows, not to put a dimmer on Solomon's amazing life, but it also shows like even this great person who had all the qualities we just talked about, it also shows how this cycle has to continue for like your whole life, because we know eventually Solomon does, turn away from the God of Israel during certain, aspects of his life. But it shows how we have to continually express our gratitude to the source of our power in our life, which is the God of Israel, and continually keep him in the front of our mind. We can't let it to the back or take the things that we have for granted and not remember where it comes from.
Right. And that also comes from, what we bring into our lives, what we introduce into our lives, the spirits and
the influences
like we learned from King Solomon, because it's so true. Like, it's really a cycle. Like, you can't let it break, because the what happened with King Solomon is exactly a great example of what Israel does, and how Israel will ask and pray, and then they'll receive their blessings. Sometimes they'll express gratitude. Other times they'll just go back. Most of the time they'll just go back to doing exactly what they were doing before. But we need to, make it a cycle and make it something that's like, no, we need to keep asking and praying and getting those blessings, and then doing great things with those blessings, and thanking the God of Israel for the blessings that he gives us, and then keep it going. Like, the thing with Solomon, obviously he brought in different influences and spirits into um, his home and to the house of the Lord. And it's just like, once you start to introduce those foreign gods and spirits, and it just diminishes the connection between the God of Israel and his people, especially if the king is doing that. So imagine the effects that it had. You don't even have to imagine, but look at the effects that it had on the people as the king of Israel was bringing foreign spirits into his house. And I think that, we need to remember that, of course, we read the scriptures to learn from the mistakes of our forefathers. And this is just another thing that we need to take from and say, okay, I see what it did in the past. Obviously, it didn't work. So I need to now figure out how to bring this cycle into my life. And of course, everyone's different and you're going to find your own ways to do it. But to kind of have the bone structure of that cycle, I think, is a very positive way to nurture that relationship with the God of Israel, and create and become the Israelite and person that you want to be.
Right.
Fields,
There's. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to read C. Fields' comment because I do love it. C. Fields, listening to our Rise panel, I have to thank Elder Shadrach for giving up his dream and answering the call from the God of Israel when he called and said to him, "Go bring back my people to me."
Yes. Yes. Yeah,
Definitely.
because like you said, I mean, the relationship we have with the God of Israel, even Elder and us individually and as a nation, it's a cyclical, long lead for the rest of our till we day we go to our forefathers. To the day we die, it's a path that is sometimes long and arduous, and there's a weight on our shoulders sometimes. But it's our job, it's our path, and we should feel so special and have that gratitude to have that. Um, Xavier Brown said the leader has least focus on himself, but his main focus on who he is leading to the magnification of the God of Israel. Right. So it's like we said, like the leader, they have this duty, responsibility for the people and for the people of Israel. And so to have that humility to do that and to recognize that relationship, because in this case, Solomon is there for the people to have asked that. I think the God of Israel saw that he truly meant that in his heart, and he was able to give him so much more than he asked for. Yeah, it's just a great. I love that. I love hearing because you hear about Solomon in history, and but to hear like how he truly was at heart, and the God of Israel saw him, is just so great to see and to read about. That also brings us to our next slide, talking about the analysis and the journey of gratitude and kind of what that means in our next slide.
Make sure you hit the like button.
Yes, like, comment, subscribe, put fires in the chat.
Always in chat.
Right. If you really resonate with what we're talking about, because I don't know if you can tell, I'm very passionate about this topic and about gratitude and about having that relationship be solidified and be a continuous journey throughout our entire lives. Um, yeah, but please like, comment, subscribe, all of that. But if we go next to the next slide. Next one. Yes. Yep, this one. Could someone read this?
Now, Naaman, captain of the host of the king of Syria, was a great man with his master and honorable, because by him the Lord had given deliverance unto Syria. He was also a mighty man in valor, but he was a leper. And the Syrians had gone out by companies and had brought away captives out of the Lord of Israel, a little maid. And she waited on Naaman's wife. And she said unto her mistress, "Would God my Lord were with the prophet that is in Samaria, for he would recover him of his leprosy." And and one went in and told his Lord, saying, "Thus and thus said the maid that is the land of Israel." And the king of Syria said, "Go, and I will send a letter unto the king of Israel." And he departed and took with him 10 talents of silver and 6,000 pieces of gold and 10 changes of raiment. And he brought the letter to the king of Israel, saying, "Now when this letter is come unto thee, behold, I have therewith sent Naaman my servant to thee, that thou mayest recover him of his leprosy." And it came to pass when the king of Israel had read the letter, that he rent his clothes and said, "Am I God to kill and make alive? And this man doth send me unto me to recover a man of his leprosy? Wherefore consider, I pray you, and see how he seeketh the quarrel against me." And it was so, when Elisha, the man of God, had heard that the king of Israel had rent his clothes, that he sent to the king, saying, "Wherefore hast thou rent thy clothes? Let him come now to me, he shall know that there is a prophet in Israel." So Naaman came with his horses and with his chariot, and stood at the door of the house of Elisha. And Elijah sent a messenger unto him, saying, "Go and wash in Jordan 7 times, and thy flesh shall come again to thee, and thou shalt be clean."
And the next slide continues.
But Naaman was wroth and went away, and said, "Behold, I thought, he will surely come out to me and stand, and call in the name of the Lord his God, and strike his hand over the place and recover the leper. Are not Abana and Pharpah, rivers of Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel? May I not wash in them and be clean?" So he turned and went away in rage. And his servant came near and spake unto him and said, "My father." If the prophet had bid thee do something great thing, wouldest thou not have done it? How much rather then, when he saith to me, wash and be clean? Then went he down and dipped himself 7 times in Jordan, according to the saying of the man of God, and his flesh came again like unto the flesh of a little child, and he was clean. And he returned to the man of God, and he and all his company and came and stood before him and said to him, Behold, now I know that there is no God in all the earth but in Israel. Now therefore I pray thee, take a blessing of thy servant.
Right. So this is Naaman, who is not an Israelite but a Syrian, who has leprosy and all those things. But he came and he had this. He wanted to be cured of his leprosy, and he had the answer right in front of him, but he turned away for a second because he didn't see that healing and miracles can be in the small things, and it can be in the River Jordan instead of a great river of Damascus. And then when he turned back and he was able to be healed, he was thankful. And if we were to read on, you would see that he tried to give riches and mules to the servants of Elisha and in that nation. And Elisha, of course, refused. But um, there were there's this story of this person that isn't an Israelite, but is still thankful to an Israelite um, and to Elisha, who healed him of his leprosy. And we see this, and if you go to the next slide as well, we can see the journey of gratitude and analysis. So right, he is asking for this to be healed, and before he even can even get that answer, when he just sees the instructions, he's in the danger zone already. He's already ungrateful to what he is wanting because he doesn't see the value in the task that he was told to do by Elisha. But then after talking to a servant, he says, never mind. And he goes and receives the healing, receives that gift from Elisha and through Elisha from the God of Israel. And then he expresses his gratitude immediately. I mean, there's a little bit of tiff in the middle, but we eventually get to that gratitude part, which I think is so great. But it goes up and down as a lot of our gratitude journeys do go. But I don't know. I really like the story, and kind of it shows kind of all the ways that people can act in situations such as this, and how we might be able to learn from that and apply it to our lives.
And what I also like about this is I feel like it's a lot. I feel like in a way it's a lot more of a human reaction to me, because like we said, we're talking about great kings like David, Solomon, and these are great people. They stand out. But I feel like even for us, we're not always perfect. We're gonna make mistakes or not see the I guess beauty of, or not want to say beauty, but like not be always be able to appreciate these smaller things. And I feel like what Naaman here is like representing that even in that he was still able to humble himself, and
Mhm.
eventually he just went along with it, and he was
Mhm.
able to receive the blessing. So if he if he can do that, why not us? If
Right.
an outsider can, if an outsider can, you know, uh, receive this blessing and then give thanks, why can't Israel do that? Because
Mhm.
same prophet would go to an Israelite king and say, "Hey, you're not supposed to be doing that," and the king will curse him, lock him up in jail.
Mhm.
So once again, that's just another reason we got to have that same kind of mindset. It's okay to make mistakes, but always remember, humbleness, humility. Come, bring it down. You know, Naaman was on the high horse. He was thinking he's all this and that.
Mhm.
He had to bring him. He had to listen to his servant and bring himself down a level and just say, "Let me just try."
Mhm.
And
Right.
I also love how Elisha um, declined the gift that
Mhm.
Naaman tried to give him.
Mhm.
I think Elisha understands that it wasn't him. It
Right.
didn't come from him. Like the reason why Naaman was healed wasn't because Elisha put some little thing in the water. And
Mhm.
no,
Right.
it was purely the God of Israel. And Elisha understands that. And I love how humble he is, and how he's humble enough to decline um, the gifts that Naaman is trying to give him, because another person could be like, yeah, that was on me. I'm going to take that. The human reaction would be, like, yeah, like give it to me. But Elijah is just so, he has a lot of faith and he has a lot of humility, and he knows where the power and the source of all the power comes from. And he
Mhm.
understands that it's the God of Israel. And if he were to take a gift for something that he didn't do,
Mhm.
then it's just like, how am I showing that faith and that trust? And how am I nurturing my relationship with the God of Israel
Mhm.
by disrespecting him and taking a gift that doesn't belong to me and taking credit where the credit is not due?
Mhm. Mhm. It's a domino effect. Him showing gratitude caused him to show gratitude in a way that, you know, wouldn't have been naturally, perceived like in today's world. Maybe someone would have taken those gifts. It seems like that would make sense as far as human nature. Of course, like you're thankful, yeah, give me the gifts. But like you said, Miriam, it's very just it's wise to even realize and recognize that this wasn't me. This was my source. This was the God of Israel. Um,
Mhm.
yeah.
Right. And it also shows like the different ways to show gratitude. Well, actually, before I get into that, let me read this comment, Xavier Brown. Many times, where we think and what many times where we think and what we desire is not from the place we think, but following instructions and being humble will surely bring about our greatest reward.
Mhm.
Right. Following instructions is super. It's like
Mm-hmm.
everything as an Israelite to be obedient, and to be humble. I think is also in this historical event and in this story as well that we can learn a lot from. Um, and I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, I think oh, okay. It shows that also there's different ways to give thanks because in this sense, Naaman wanted to show his gratitude, but not just with his words, but with his actions. He wanted to give money and give resources, and it shows that this wasn't the time or the person to give that to. I mean, yeah, and so I mean, there's definitely a time and a place to show money as gratitude, such as a donation to the Israelite nation, but but in this place it wasn't needed. But he showed
Yeah.
his in that way. He still showed his gratitude in the first place. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. So there's lots to learn from this, and we're actually going to move on to the next slide to get some more gratitude journeys. Right. So I will read this one. It's Matthew 18. Therefore is the kingdom of heaven likened unto a certain king, which would take account of his servants. And when he had begun to reckon, one was brought unto him, which owed him 10,000 talents. But for as much as he had not to pay, his Lord commanded him to be sold, and his wife and children, and all that he had, and payment to be made. The servant therefore fell down and worshipped him, saying, Lord, have patience with me, and I will pay thee all. Then the Lord of that servant was moved with compassion and loosed him and forgave him the debt. But that same servant went out and found one of his fellow servants which owed him 100 pence. And he laid hands on him and took him by the throat, saying, Pay me that thou owest. And his fellow servant fell down at his feet and besought him, saying, Have patience with me, and I will pay thee all. And he would not, but went and cast him into prison till he shall pay the debt. So when his fellow servants saw what he had done, they were very sorry and came and told unto their Lord all that was done. Then his Lord, after that he had called him, and said unto him, O thou wicked servant, I forgave thee all thy debt because thou dearest to me. Shouldest not thou also have had compassion until on thy fellow servant, even as I had pity on thee? And his Lord was wroth, and delivered him to the tormentors, till he should pay all that was due unto him. So likewise shall my heavenly Father do also unto you, if ye from your hearts forgive not every one of your brother their trespasses. So this is another form of gratitude in this parable that Jesus says to Peter, who asks what to or how many times should you forgive your brethren? This is what his answer is. So it's about forgiveness and about that relationship, but it's also about gratitude. If the servant was truly, truly grateful and valued not only the relationship between him and the king and his Lord, but also valued the debt that he forgave and valued his own forgiveness. If he was truly grateful for that, he would have done the same to his fellow servant. I mean, that shows that you do unto others what you want to be done to you, first of all, but also it shows that in order to show gratitude to the God of Israel, you show gratitude to your brethren. Like there are many ways to appreciate and to value this nation and this culture. But if you aren't one with your brethren, if you aren't forgiving them and having that continuous relationship with them, then the relationship between the God of Israel is in trouble. Right. So there's gratitude everywhere, all around,
That
really.
kind,
Yeah.
because like how you especially mentioned how it's within the brethren,
Hmm.
that kindness, that love, and that caring, that's something
Yeah.
that's we have to pass around through this entire family, through
Yeah.
thick or thin. Whether someone makes you mad or upset, you still have to come to understand that hey, we're brethren, we're still
Yeah.
family. So that gratitude still has to exist. That kindness still has to exist. So,
Right.
and that's one thing we definitely have to clarify. This is with Israel, because I feel like a lot of philosophies will say, "Oh, this is just to everyone in the world."
Mm.
This is specifically referring to
Yeah.
Israel. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
not saying that you want to go and attack a Johnny if he owes you $5 or anything, but just to make sure that this is specifically with Israel. So
Yeah.
among our own, we have to show that same love, the kindness, the forgiveness, the mercy,
Hmm.
the trust, the care. That same stuff the God of Israel gives to you, give it to your
Hmm.
brethren. Show that same
Right.
stuff to your brethren.
Right.
Preach that philosophy. I don't want to say
Right.
that, but that way of life. Preach that,
Yeah.
teach that, live that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what you want to do.
I forgot who commented that earlier, but gratitude is an attitude. It is a way of life. It
Hmm.
is sincerity in your actions. It's built in you. So
Right.
definitely, I agree. Show that same consideration to your brethren, and you know. So yeah.
Right. Let's
Amen.
before you let's go to the analysis of gratitude for this instance in this parable in the next slide. Right. So we see that this analysis is this servant in this parable, he asked and begged, like he cried at his feet to solve his debt. He received those, and in this relationship with his fellow servants that asked and begged of him this time, he got into the danger zone because he did not forgive his debts. He did not act upon his servants as his lord, and his king acted upon him in this parable. And once you go in danger zone, you're about to be punished, and he was tormented because of his unwillingness to have that gratitude and to forgive. So this is a what not to do, really. And like we said, it shows that relationship and that important nature of relationships with our brethren and what that means to a relationship with our with the God of Israel. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I love that because, like, even, in your own households, when two people aren't getting along, you can feel the energy shift, right? So
Mhm.
imagine, like, it's the same thing with the God of Israel and his children. Like, when you, like, how can you pray with someone when in the back of your mind you're thinking, like, oh, like, I still haven't forgiven you for
Mm.
this thing you did, or oh, like, I can sit and pray with you, but also, like, I still am thinking about what you said to me the other day. um, and I think that that's also something I'm still learning. uh, but it's like, you in your life, holding grudges never really gets you anywhere.
Mm.
So especially in this family, in this nation, with your brethren, like, you really have to think about the person you want to be and the legacy you want to leave, and how, even if someone wrongs you, like, at the end of the day, like, you can be that bigger person and say, well, you know what, we're brethren. At the end of the day, we both worship the same God. We may not be best friends, we may not even, be acquaintances, but at least we can sit back and say we worship the same God. We can pray together, we can have that sort of spiritual bond, even if there isn't a physical one.
I
Yeah.
love Felicia's Singleton's comment. If the Lord can forgive you, then you can forgive your brethren. And we know for what and how many times the God of Israel has forgiven us for
Mm-hmm.
turning away from Him, from amongst other things. If
Mm-hmm.
we can't do that for our brethren, then what are we building here?
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Sure.
Right.
You can't.
Um, no, go ahead.
Um, just I guess another way to think about this is for me, I have a lot of siblings, and I love my sisters, but sometimes they do get on my nerves, and I probably get on their nerves. Let's be real. But there is that understanding that when it comes to the God of Israel, drop all of that grudges. push that back to another time. That
Mhm.
sibling back and forth, that's now is not the time. Right now, you
Yeah.
have to build an environment, a community. You can't
Mhm.
build a community on gossip, fake lies, hate. You
Mm,
can't build it on that.
Right. Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's real.
Yeah, because as people of Israel, I mean, we're supposed to be one spirit moving in our own collective ways and in unity, and that unity is threatened when we don't have that gratitude. We don't value that special relationship with our brethren, and we don't show our gratitude in the many ways that we can. And that also brings us to our next slide. When we talk about gratitude, and we're talking about kind of the different ways in which gratitude has been talked about or experienced in our forefathers' stories and in our history. I also think about how that applies to us. So if we go to the next slide. What does the journey of gratitude look like for you? And you can answer this in the comments. We can think about this, but we can also, talk about it for a minute now. But what does this look like for you? I mean, I know, for instance, I asked all of you guys to be here and you guys blessed me with your presence. And I am so grateful to have this panel for this Rise Takeover with me today. So that is an example of my journey of gratitude for you guys.
I, I
Yeah,
appreciate you showing your gratitude, Deb.
thank you.
Yes, thank you. So good.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, I like the idea of having gratitude shown as in a diagram or in an image because we can directly apply that to our lives. So anyone that's watching here, please take this with you. Please, there's no copyright on this. Please use this in order to kind of map out your own lives and in ways that you can continue to show your gratitude. If you haven't, please do. If you are, maybe find new ways to do so. That also brings us to our next slide. Um, which is ways to show gratitude. And this is it can be a whole bigger topic because there are so many ways to do so.
Right.
There's prayer, there's song, as we see in Psalms with David and other writers. We can go to the altar and really connect with the God of Israel. We can really connect with our brethren. We can use our blessings, and of course, we can donate. And in certain situations, monetary gratitude is also very appreciated as well.
Mhm.
But there are different ways. Are there any other different ways that we can think of? Um, I don't know. I think this kind of encompasses
Yeah,
everything.
that a lot of everything.
That's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
If
But
you have any more ideas, please let us know.
yeah, in the
put it in there.
comments, please do.
This
Um,
definitely touches a lot of different surfaces. You could use multiple of these together.
mhm.
It definitely touches a lot of stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And then just any last thoughts really on gratitude and kind of where we are in our lives and how we might show it continuously, or any advice for people that are struggling to do so.
Yeah.
I
I
see
just
what.
hope this is a good reminder for people as we go about our lives to take that moment and show that appreciation to our God,
Mhm.
to our nation, because there are, I mean, I pray that I will never find out what it feels like to not have this connection and not have this people with me.
Mhm.
Because it's a scary world out there. I mean, we got to make sure we are doing our part to show appreciation.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Thank you, Tina. Thank
Really?
you for your participation. Have an attitude of gratitude. I want that on a t-shirt.
I want that on a T-shirt too.
Yeah.
Please.
Motivations, a new T-shirt.
Yeah, thanks for showing your gratitude. I love that. Are there any
No,
last comments?
yeah, I
Um,
love this topic. It was really, for me, something that I didn't think that I needed. Um,
Mhm.
just as a refresher, just to just reflect on my own life and see how
Mhm.
I use gratitude and
Yeah.
what does my cycle of gratitude look like and where I can um, get better with gratitude and
Mhm.
where I'm good and where I'm strong. Like this was a really good refresher. And I think that this is great for everyone to look at, especially those who just recently got baptized. I think that
Yes.
this is a great way for you guys to and our new brethren to learn how they can show gratitude to the nation and to our God. And even for the brethren who've been here since the beginning, like this is just a great way to just refresh and learn how we can show gratitude to our God, our brethren, and ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Like
another way that we can show gratitude is by supporting our fellow brethren. I know there's a seminar going around and touring. It just came from Atlanta, but it's going to be in New Jersey and Missouri soon. So, especially new brethren, anyone interested, bring friends, family alike. But that's
Nice.
another way to show gratitude is to show up for your brethren, to learn more and to connect more with your brethren and the leaders of this nation. You know, so
For sure.
lots to think about.
Definitely. This
Yes.
is so great. This is actually just what I needed, really.
Yes, me too.
Yeah.
I want to thank you guys for coming here, for showing your gratitude, for having gratitude, and for talking about gratitude with me today on this Rise Takeover. Thank you to everyone that's commented and our donations. And I hope that you take this lesson with you guys, everyone, for the rest of your lives, and kind of learn kind of what gratitude means to you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Bye,
Peace,
everyone.
hit the
everyone.
like button.
Yeah,
Peace.
bye.
Peace.